Okay, good evening. I think I'm recording now. I am recording. Vlog number 4 out of 5 days. This one doing a little bit later at night than I probably should have, but was watching the Minnesota Vikings against the Lions, and it's halftime, and I watched the Packer game today. That was depressing. Oh, they made the playoffs. They're playing the Eagles next Sunday, and go Pack, go Pack. But it doesn't look good for Watson. I think he has a torn ACL. I think the way it looked, you know, he's got his, he jammed his cleats into the turf as he was moving forward, and he goes down on his own. And if that doesn't look like a prototypical ACL injury, I don't know what does. And it's unfortunate for him because he's a great player, but he keeps getting injured. So anyways, enough of that. Enough of that. It's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about just a couple of things. Number one is I'm going to go over my ZF in the next few days and what I love about it, what I don't like about it, and all the lenses I have for my ZF, because I've got a ton of lenses. And there are so many good manual focus lenses out there. And one of the things that the ZF does, it's got great manual focus. So if you're not afraid of manual focus and you like getting really cheap, great lenses, the ZF is for you, because I don't mind manual focusing at all. As a matter of fact, in some ways I prefer it. I feel a little bit more involved when I'm doing manual focusing, although autofocus certainly has this place, and I love it at certain times, particularly when I'm doing action or things that require, you know, me to respond faster than I can with my fingers. Manual focus is absolutely great on the ZF with the focus peaking and the punch in to check your focus and everything. So I'm going to go over all those lenses and everything with you and kind of tell you what I have and my experience with them so far, and many of them I've just started playing with. But I also wanted to talk tonight about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and I did my first 2 time lapses. So I'm going to put them up in here, and they'll be playing as I'm talking. The first one I set it last night for an hour at 5-second intervals, and I was going to shoot the sunrise on the Lake Michigan shoreline. And so I checked the time the sunrise was going to be and had all that figured out, and so I didn't have to futz with it, because I woke up this morning, it was 4 degrees Fahrenheit, it was cold as hell. So I got all bundled up and went out and got out to my place by about 6:15 or 6:20, and the sunrise was not scheduled until 7:18 or something like that. So I had plenty of time, and I got my Osmo set up real quickly and started on it, and I was doing 5-second intervals for 1 hour, which would be, I think it ended up to be like, man, maybe 35 seconds or 40 seconds of time lapse. I'm not quite sure. But in any case, we have the sunrise coming up, and in Lake Michigan, we'll get, if you look out in the distance, you'll see these banks of steam or what looks like clouds along the horizon in Lake Michigan. When you have clear skies above, you'll have this bank of clouds along there, and that is because the water temperature is that much warmer than the ambient temperature, and so the evaporation is creating this fog that's out there on the horizon. And so sometimes you can get a real nice color as the sun is going through there, and then if there are no clouds above it, it fizzles out really quickly. So it usually adds up to not much of a sunrise. You may get a pop of color. Chances are you don't. Sort of kind of wasting your time a little bit with that. But this morning we did have some clouds above, and we had the fog bank below. And I thought with an hour I'll probably be able to pull it off. So I started the DJI Pocket 3 time lapse, and it was chugging along, doing great. And I'm going to show you my first one. And then I realized all the color was going to be happening in the clouds that were just above that fog bank, and they were going to be happening before sunrise. And sunrise was going to be too late in order to really get that pop of color that I wanted. So freaked out, turned it off, shut it down, went to a 20-minute interval with time lapse, and I'll show you that one next here. And it turned out really kind of cool. You can see me looking at the camera trying to figure out whether it's recording or not, and of course it was doing its deal. And it was very cold, and it's funny, the Osmo said it's cold out here, or something to that effect, that it's really cold out here and the battery's less effective in the cold. So I was just looking for 20 minutes out of it, got my time lapse. Really fun to do, really simple to do. Actually, it was motion lapse is what I was doing. I take all that time lapse stuff back. It was motion lapse that I was doing. And I set the waypoints and let it go for the 20 minutes and got the sunrise, and you'll see it. It's a very short video, but it was fun playing with it. And these things are really interesting for me because I didn't think I'd ever be able to pull something like that off. I have cameras. I've had D810s, D850s, all sorts of Nikon Z cameras. Never bothered to do any time lapse, never bothered to do anything. I was just a stills photographer, and that was that. But now that I am throwing my lot in with videographers and people who do this and trying to create videos that have some level of interest that people may want to look at, I'm playing with the stuff again. So it's kind of fun, it's interesting to learn. It was a learning project for me, and I got off some really nice stills, and I'm going to add those as well here so that you can see some of the stills that I got out of the camera as well this morning for sunrise. I got a really nice composition shot. Kind of shows you some of the sunrises that we get here. But in any case, it was really cold out there, and two guys joined me. A friend of mine, John, who often shows up. He came out of the blue, and he put his tripod about a foot away from me and gave me a little room to be able to monitor both of my tripods, because I had my Zf on one tripod with my 24-240 Z lens, the f4 one, which is really a great landscape lens. And then I had my little carbon fiber tripod with the Osmo on it, which worked great too. So all that was successful. So got all those pictures, came back, downloaded them on the camera, and it was just darn cold today, and it's not good for my bones. But anyways, wanted to get on here and talk about that. So in the next couple of days, I'm going to start doing kind of a comprehensive on the ZF from my terms as primarily a still shooter, and the lenses that I've been working with and my experience with those lenses, and give you some images to review that have been shot with the different lenses and things like that. So I'm also having, I bought a huge Canon printer, the large format Canon Pro-2600, which is got a 24-inch width for large format, and I can do huge panoramas if I want. I've already done a couple, and it's really, really wonderful. But I actually bought it at B&H, so it was drop shipped to my place. The guy who drop shipped it wouldn't even bring it up the stairs. He just looked and said, "No way, I'm not doing it," and he left it right in front of my place. So I had to call a couple friends, wait for them to show up. In the meantime, I took the cover off, and I was able to get rid of a lot of the pieces. And then we all lifted it up and got it through the door. It's a monster. It weighs, I think, about 160, 170 pounds. Got it all set up, been working with it. I've got 3 new rolls that I'm working with, one of which is the Canon Pro Luster 24-foot by 100-foot roll of paper. I've always loved the Pro Luster from Canon. I think it's a great stock. Does a really nice job, has a very nice, very low-key sheen to it. So got that, but I started out with Red River first, and Red River is a smaller paper company down in Texas. It does a lot of different ones. I really like a lot of their glossy metallics or their luster metallics. Really great. So I got a 24 by 100-foot roll of the luster metallic, and then I got a 24 by 100-foot roll of what mounts like sort of a semi-gloss. And I was utilizing that paper and getting some really beautiful prints, but upon further inspection, noticed that there were a lot of horizontal lines throughout the print, and also it was smudging. So it's really, really important, at least for me, to make sure that I've got the proper profiles in there. On Tuesday, some Canon techs are coming over and helping to look at my printer and get those profiles put in and kind of show me around the printer, which is phenomenal. I mean, it wasn't something that I was expecting. So it's really, really terrific. And I'm really glad that they're coming over here and doing that. They got a couple techs coming. I'm very excited about that. I really love printing. A friend of mine who did all my printing and a lot of people's printing in the Milwaukee area, particularly for the Coalition of Photographic Artists in Milwaukee, was doing a lot of printing for them and for galleries and for competitions, things like that. Excuse me, salad. Anyways, he passed away last year, cancer. So a shout out to Doug Krimmer, who was a good friend and a good man, and unfortunately no longer with us, and his wife Mary, who was absolutely terrific. He had a big printer, big 44-inch printer that he offered to let me buy from him, but when I looked at it and I looked at the age of the printer and the fact that there weren't a lot of inks that he had filled up, which is the expensive part of printing. It's nice to get a nice printing machine, but the cost of ink far surpasses whatever you're going to buy the hardware for. So I decided, you know, I wanted to do large format printing. I wanted to make it do printing for people locally, and I also wanted to do my large format printing because I really enjoy printing large and getting my prints up, and it's just really a blast. But I have this huge machine now over here. Canon's going to come over and help me. I'm really excited about it. That's going to happen Tuesday. So tonight's Sunday, and that's Tuesday. And then tomorrow I've got to get this whole place cleaned up so they can at least move around in here, because when I brought this printer in, I had no idea the sheer size of it. So I had to renegotiate. This is my office space, which is in the front of my flat that I have. And I have all of my equipment against the wall because currently I don't have a studio. And in the past, I had a studio, and I always had all my equipment set up with my booms and my soft boxes, my C-stands on rollers and all that stuff. I've got all that equipment. I'm looking for studio space right now, but it's pretty jammed in here. And I've got a table that I can lay my prints out on and work with them on, and I've got a cutting board. And I've also got my Canon Pro-2600 behind me, which is a fantastic printer. I use that a lot. It does up to 17 by 22 inch prints, so it does a real nice job with larger prints. Does terrific. I can run my Red River through there. I can run any paper that I get. I've got some Hahnemuhle does a beautiful job with. So I love Canon's printers. The only problem is Canon ink is so expensive. For a set of 330 milliliter, it's a 12 tank machine. It cost me over $2,200 for a set of inks, which is, you know, just unbelievable. It does a beautiful job of printing. The color's fantastic. It's a very, very capable machine, but I've got to figure out some way to be able to save some money on inks, because there is no way in the long run I'm going to be able to continue to sustain that and do what it is I want to do. So I'm looking at some third-party manufacturers, kind of kicking that around, trying to find out from other printers what their experience has been with third-party inks, because these are not even the largest tanks that I have. The largest tanks are 700 milliliter tanks, and had I gone with 12 cartridges for 700 milliliters, I would have been in the $3,300 range for a set of 12, which is a ton of money. And I do a lot of printing for me, so it's not like I'm getting my money back with all this printing. I'm hoping that with printing other people's things, that I'll at least be able to afford the ink to be able to run my machine. But I'm not expecting that I'm going to be making, you know, a lot of money and throwing a lot of money into my bank account over it. So anyways, that's my Canon printer coming Tuesday. Canon's going to be here. Very excited about that. With that, thank you so much for tuning into my fourth vlog. I consider this a success because I'm doing it, and I'm just going to keep better and keep getting better and better and better and learning and learning and learning. I'm using DaVinci Resolve for my processing software, and that is really great software for free. I mean, I guess you can get you can buy in and get the one that's a paid subscription to DaVinci Resolve, but the features that it has in it wouldn't do me any good because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I have never used DaVinci Resolve. I've never used any video software. So this is all new to me. So DaVinci does everything that I wanted to do. I watched a few tutorials. I'm getting feeling a little bit more comfortable every time I do it. So that's been very cool. And it works great, and it's free, and I love free because I'm paying for everything else. And now that I'm retired, I'm on a fixed income, and the bills pile up quickly. And with this cold outside, I'm going to have heating bills for the next couple months that are going to be $300 or $400 a month. I've got my monthly rent. I've got my car payment. I've got some credit cards I got to pay every month. So it all adds up. So anything I can get for free, fantastic. I sold my Z9, and I haven't told any of my friends about it, but I did sell my Z9. I really enjoyed it. I went out to South Dakota. I think if you've seen vlog number 3 or number 2, I think it was number 2, vlog number 2, that I had a lot of shots from when we were out, my friend Tim and I were out in the Badlands and the Black Hills early part of December. The weather was perfect for 3 days. We were there for 4 days, and the first day was kind of chilly, but it warmed up, continued to warm up. The next 3 days, the first day in the Badlands and the last 2 days in the Black Hills, were really, really warm and beautiful. And that time of year, early December, we had the Black Hills and we had the Badlands to ourselves for the most part. So it was really a lot of fun. Did some great shooting, but the Z9 doesn't really speak to me at this point. I used to love those pro bodies with the vertical grip and everything like that. They were really, really solid. And when I was on the street, I have to be honest with you, it gave me a sense of confidence because anybody was going to go after my things. And I had a metal lens and one of those pro Nikon bodies on there. That's as capable a weapon as you're probably going to have outside of a gun. So always felt good about that. But I'm older now, and it gets more difficult to carry that weight. And I really don't need the vertical grip. It's so funny. I've been using now bodies without grips for so long that I'm always, when I head into portrait mode, I've always got my finger on top anyways, so there's really no reason for a vertical grip. So that was number one. It was just too heavy for what I needed. And number two, it didn't fit my shooting style. So I think I'm probably going to be looking for like a used or refurbished Z8 somewhere in the near future, something that can do that kind of work, where you're going to do action and have something that's really, really versatile. But I love the ZF and the way it renders. I did some headshots for one of my friends on Saturday morning, and it turned out beautifully. 24 megapixels is plenty. It's plenty for everything. Maybe not for wildlife and having to isolate, pull subjects in and everything like that. Maybe it's not going to be great for that. Which is why I would be looking for a Z8, a used Z8 or something like that. But the ZF for everything else that I do is really great. And I've found for printing, I can create huge prints with the 24 megapixel sensor. Even if I crop in, I can, and now with software that helps increase the amount of density and the pixels and things like that. And some of the software, 24 megapixels is just going to be absolutely fine for almost all the printing I do. Never going to print anything big enough where that won't be sufficient. And I won a big award in Milwaukee about 5 years ago with a print that I did that I had done in Jamaica when I had spent time in Jamaica embedded with people in a little rural village in Jamaica. And one of the pictures that I did ended up getting some national awards, and also got a local award. And that was shot with my D4S, which is 16 megapixels. And the color that came out of that D4S was absolutely fantastic. And I went, and for the first gallery showing that I was invited to, they selected that image, and I printed it big. I printed it 2 foot by 3 foot at 300 DPI with the 16 megapixel sensor. And I don't know if it was at 300 or 200 DPI, but it was reasonable. It was very generous. And it looks fantastic. You can walk up to it and take a look at it. It looks sharp. The colors are beautiful. So I really still enjoy those old Pro DSLRs, and I do miss the 4DS because it could take a beating. But I got rid of all my F-glass. I'm now got everything for the Z mount, and I've got a Leica coming in the mail. I'm going to be shooting the Leica M8.2, and I just bought a couple of lenses for that. So that I'm planning on utilizing on the street. Going to give that a try for a while. So that's sort of what I'm looking at in terms of what I'm going to be carrying around for the near future until probably a year from now. What I'm going to be using for the next year is going to be my ZF with a variety of lenses. I've probably got 10 lenses for it. And then I'm also going to be shooting the Leica M8.2. So more on that. I've already run too long already. Thanks so much for watching. If you lasted this long, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to put on the notifications. But my stuff's probably not worth watching yet. So anyways, I appreciate you being here. Bye.